I'm Dr. Matteson. I teach in the technology department at SUNY Oswego. Specifically, I teach engineering graphics and technical illustration, computer aided design, and architectural drawing. Today I want to share with you some sketching activities that I do with my classes. I'm going to give two presentations. You can watch them separately. One is going to be on sketching working drawings, where we go over the terminology and students have a hands-on experience with nothing more than paper and pencil. In the second presentation, I'll go over pictorial drawings using the same paper and pencil. So I hope they're helpful to you. If I were you, I'd just grab a pencil and a sheet of paper and just sketch along with me as we go through these presentations. I hope they're helpful for you, and thanks for coming to the conference. Today we're going to have some activities related to the different types of technical drawings and illustrations. To do this activity, I'd like to have you get several sheets of 8.5 by 11 paper. Also, you'll need to have a few number 2 pencils to work in. Make sure that they're sharp. Possibly a straight edge. And maybe an eraser shield. Helps you with your lettering. Okay, so we're going to talk about types of technical drawings and illustrations. You probably notice how nice and neat that lettering is. We always use capital letters, and I like to use my eraser shield to help keep these letters nice and neat. So the types of technical drawings and illustrations fall into 2 categories. So in your notes, please mark down working and over here, presentation. Now I want to remind you that you can at any time stop this video or pause it, and then if you needed to again, get out your eraser shield or sharpen your pencil, you could do that. So you can pause this and then continue on, but the goal of the video is to have you actually follow along with me. At the end, I'm going to ask you to use your cell phone to take a nice, direct, clear picture that you will upload to Google Classroom assignments. This is an assignment that will receive credit or points for completing this assignment. All right, so we're working together, and we've decided that the types fall into 2 categories. They're either a working drawings or presentation drawings. And as we look at them, when we're going to actually do the working drawings in the first half of this video, and then we're going to do the presentation drawings in the second half of the video. I'm going to actually break this video into 2 parts to make it a little more manageable. Working drawings. Think about if you had plans to build something, they would need to have specific pieces of information communicated, such as the dimensions, the type of material, the finish. All that information is important to actually produce that item. So that is working drawings. They actually show how it's assembled. They show a variety of different things and help you to actually be able to take that idea to reality. Presentation is to communicate your idea or to develop an idea, and you might want to think of this presentation more in a 3D world, where working drawings pretty much fall in a 2-dimensional world. And that just means when you go to look at them, the working drawing and inventor could be from a 3D object in which you make 2-dimensional drawings. It'll make more sense here as we move forward. So what are the different types of working drawings? The first one is your orthographic drawing. Okay. The orthographic or multi-view drawings are drawings that will show 1 2, 3, 4, or 5, even possibly 6 sides of an object. Think of any object as having a front, back, top, bottom, left, right. So there's 6 sides to every object. Those are your basic orthographic viewpoints. We can look at something from the top, we can look at it from the front, etc. Generally speaking, most orthographic drawings can be communicated in basic 3, front, top, and right side, because the front of an object is very similar to the back of the object. The right is similar to the left, and unless there is specific information on an opposite side, then you wouldn't need that view. But if there is something, let's say there's a battery compartment on the bottom, you'd need to have a bottom view. Some objects are really simple, like this little eraser shield. I could do just one view of this, make a note as to the thickness of the material, and a one view drawing would be sufficient. If you had an object like a glass, in which you turned it, the front and the top would be all you'd need, because as you turn a glass around, it appears the same. Okay, so orthographic is one of the working drawings. From that orthographic, sometimes there are interior details in which we have to show in sections. So section views are usually made or in addition to the orthographic drawing views, and sections show interior details. There is a working drawing called details, and this is quite often when you have something where it's so small, yet you need to add dimension to that small part. So you basically pull it out, enlarge it, and then draw it in a magnified view and add all the dimensions you need. Then sometimes there is a need for what's called auxiliary. An auxiliary view. An auxiliary view, again, could come off an orthographic. We're going to sketch each one of these out. And that is when there's something that does not appear true size or shape in the front, top, right, or the other 3 views. So we might have to do on an inclined surface on an auxiliary view. Last but not least of working drawings, development or pattern. Think about package design, like a cardboard box when you unfold it. That is a drawing layout for development, maybe a sheet metal project. Even the clothes that you wear are patterns. So quite often you'll see both of these words used for that type of drawing. Okay. In the second video after this one, we're going to sketch all these now, and then the second video we'll get into the presentation drawings. We'll be talking about those. They are the 3-dimensional drawings. They are called isometric, oblique, and perspectives. Okay, so here we go. We have a nice sheet of notes. We're going to get right into some sketches. So we'll take a nice fresh sheet of paper. Again, you should be sketching with me. And we're going to work in the bottom quadrant here of the paper. And then we will start with a simple orthographic sketch. Even though in our working drawings, we would take that sketch and have it in a technical format. We wouldn't necessarily sketch it, but we would use Inventor, or we would draw it by hand using our board and T-square. But this is just, these sketches are a quick way to give you the idea of what these different drawings look like. Orthographic. Remember I said that usually 3 views are sufficient. So if you are going to design or show a plan for a dog house that you'd like to build, you would first draw the front view. This is a front view. You wouldn't put the F there, but just so you know. The front view always has the most shape. So as we look at the front of our dog house, and you could, add a little detail to it if you'd like. But anyways, we look at our front of our doghouse. It has the most shape. We would leave a slight space between our front and right side. Usually it's an inch space. And then we would draw the right side. This is why it's nice to have more than one pencil handy, so you can just change pencils. And notice that my right side is directly to the right of the front view. And so we've got a nice front, a right side, and then we want to draw the top. This is where if you had wanted to be a little more detail, you could always use your scale to draw these lines a little straighter. When I'm sketching, I really don't mind projecting up my lines. I leave myself an inch space in between, and then I lay out the depth. So in other words, my depth can be found on the right side, and it is the same, can be found here in the top. Either or, they're always the same. That's an equal sign. Okay, so the 3 dimensions that are always found in the orthographic are height dimensions. So you'd have a height dimension. You would have your width dimensions. You might use a center line for this. Okay. Okay. So you have height, width, and depth. And all those dimensions would be given on your orthographic drawing. Okay, so sometimes this isn't enough. For example, if I wanted to lay out a window or a skylight in this roof, I'm thinking, I'd like to get a little additional light into the end there. It's somewhere around here. I really can't dimension it on this angled surface because, as you can see, it doesn't really, it's foreshortened because it's tipped back. So it's a lot bigger than this, but because it's shown at an angle, it appears narrow. Same thing here. It's appearing at an angle. The only time I can actually show the true size and shape is to draw what's called auxiliary. Auxiliary is pretty simple. It's a 90-degree look, and it's just like I'm taking and looking directly at that surface. I'm going to put it up here. And you don't need the whole auxiliary view, but basically this is a view of that roof. And now, once I'm looking directly on it, it appears true size and shape. So this view is true size and shape. It is your auxiliary view. And now you can go ahead and say, okay, I wanted my this is my window or my skylight that I'm going to put in here. And at that point, because this is true size and shape, you can show the distance to locate that window, and you can also show the size of the window. And this will be a true size and placement. This is your auxiliary. So we have an orthographic, front, top, right side. You have an auxiliary view. Sometimes we want to show some other information, like what does this look like on the inside, the building components. So this is a section line. What I'm going to do is I would cut this visually, and in this view over here, and again, pause the video if you need to catch up on sketching. Perfectly fine to take your time on the sketching of the object. This is going to be a section view. How this section is going to lay out is now I want to show other things. I want to show that how this doghouse is actually constructed with the studs. Your ridge board, your little rafters there. And you can even communicate things like the insulation. You can communicate the skylight. You could communicate the sheathing on the outside, or in your case, if you put siding, you could actually show that. Okay, this is a section view. It shows interior details. Okay, and of course the roof has some sheathing, and which is like a piece of plywood, and then maybe it has shingles on it. So you'd, again, to show whatever details you want to show on that section, that's your section. So we have an auxiliary, we have a section, we have the orthographic, and then we don't have quite a detail. Now a detail is where you look at something and you say, I can't quite see that. I would need to see a detail of a certain area. So you circle that area, bring it to a different location, enlarge your circle, and then you can draw that same about. It could be magnified, any given scale that you need it to be, to show the cut of this rafter. And now I could add dimensions to this so that they could make that cut that's necessary for that particular detail. So this is a detail drawing. It clarifies the drawing, and you can add dimensions if necessary. But that, again, really helps to communicate that information. The last of the working drawings are your developments. Now, developments are, I'll use the back here. The developments we talked about being like package design. If we look at the developments, basically most developments start with a bottom. Kind of visualize this as being folded. We're laying out a box. This will be your back. Should be your front. Right side, left side. And then you would have to have probably little tabs. Okay, that would attach it to there. And you could put them on either side, depending on what kind of package design you were looking to have. You might think about your top. Your top may have to have a tab to fold in. And then usually what people do is they change the fold lines so that you can tell that it's folded. Now you could do it either with a lighter line here and then your dark object lines, or you can use a hidden line technique. Now remember, I mentioned before this nice little set of holes cut into your eraser shield, so you can use that. It's a lot nicer to have that single line. Just go over these are all the places where you want to communicate fold. Let's see, right across there, there. Could put one more in here. So we've turned that all into hidden lines. We've got a few more here. And this is your development or pattern drawing. Okay, so let's label that. And when you do these in technical drawing, these are going to be very, very precise. Okay, if it's doing a pattern for metal work, you're going to actually show material allowance for certain bends. You're going to communicate everything that you need in a pattern or a development drawing. So let's just quickly review. And then next video is going to be creating the pictorial drawings or the presentation drawings. So we learned that types of technical drawings fall into two categories: working, orthographic, section, details, auxiliary, developments. We're going to do presentation drawings in our next video. We have isometric, oblique, and perspectives. We talked about a doghouse, just looking at three basic views: front, which always has the most shape, right side, and notice I didn't change them. They're always aligned up, so the right is directly on the right of the front. The top is directly on top. Okay, we do leave 1 inch of space in between the views. And this tells us all our height dimensions, our width dimensions, and then our depth dimensions can be found either on the right side or in the top. We can also find some width dimensions in the top, and you can find some height dimensions on the right side. Then we drew an auxiliary, which was 90 degrees, okay, perpendicular to that surface, so that we could see true size and shape of that skylight we're going to put in there. We need to identify how big the skylight is, and we want to know where it's located. We can't put that information on either one of these views because of the angled surface. It ends up slanting that window as we're looking at it, so it's not appearing correctly. So we can't dimension it there. So auxiliaries, very important. Then we drew a section to show interior details, some of the construction details we wanted to show. Then within that section, there might have been an area, or it could have been anywhere here, that we wanted to show something in greater detail. So we added a detail view, and that helps to fully communicate and clarify the information that needs to be presented. Developments, think about sheet metal work, maybe duct work. If you look around your room and where you are, quite often you'll see things made out of metal or packages. Even your folders are all development and pattern drawings, just like the clothes that you're wearing. All right, stay tuned for the next video on pictorial drawings.
I hope you enjoyed sketching along with me different types of working drawings. I also have contributed a second presentation to the conference. It is called Sketching Pictorial Drawings. So if you'd like to do that one, please pick up your paper and pencil and follow along with that one. Thank you for coming.